It's primary election night in Washington, the first hurdle toward the general election in November. King 5 has you covered as voters narrow down the candidates in important races that will shape the future of our state. Are voters satisfied with the current leadership or shifting toward change? We'll break it down for you right here on this King 5 digital special. And we are just moments away from the first round of results from tonight's August primary, first step toward the general election in November. Ballots are still pouring in tonight. Thanks for joining us for this digital special on King 5 News. I'm Greg Copeland. The top two candidates in each race will advance to the November general election. That is regardless of party affiliation. Here are some of the top races that we are keeping an eye on in this show for you. We're going to begin in Seattle, where Mayor Bruce Harrell wants voters to elect him to a second term. He's running against 7 other candidates, including Katie Wilson, who leads the Transit Riders Union, Ray Armstrong and Joe Mallahan, 2 other challengers. 8 candidates are on the primary ballot for King County Executive. This is an open seat after Dow Constantine became the CEO at Sound Transit. King County Council members Claudia Balducci and Gurmai Zahalai are both seeking that position. And there's a 6-way race for Tacoma Mayor. Victoria Woodards cannot seek re-election because of term limits. John Hines and Anders Ibsen have raised the most money so far. Hines has been on the Tacoma City Council the past 5 years. Ibsen served on the City Council for 8 years and has been working as a managing broker. And then up north in Everett, Mayor Cassie Franklin is seeking a third term. She faces 3 challengers in that race: Scott Murphy, Rich Ryan, and Janice Green. And we are also keeping an eye on multiple races for Seattle City Council. Voters in Seattle will also be deciding on some key measures, and we're going to talk all about it. And as we wait for those results to pop in, let's bring in Patrick Schoettmer, Associate Teaching Professor at Seattle University, specializing in politics. Always good to have you in.
Of course, Greg.
Love chatting with you about this stuff. Let's talk some of the bigger races tonight. We're keeping an eye on King County. What are you looking for?
Well, I think the first thing we're looking for is what turnout is going to be looking like. If turnout is up, that's going to tell us that voters might be coming in a little hot, a little angry. If they're coming in a little hot, a little angry, we might be looking for a poor performance for incumbents. Happy people usually don't vote in the primary. We'll see if that bucks the trend or not. Beyond that, I think we're wanting to look to see how the incumbents are doing in those races where we do have incumbents. Like up in Everett and then here in Seattle. If you're an incumbent, you really want to be clearing that 50% threshold.
Right.
If you're under 50%, that's a worrying sign. And we kind of want to see in some of the other races, the open seat races, how much those endorsements are mattering in deciding what the November field is going to look like.
You mentioned some of the numbers for the voter turnout, and already, and I don't know whether you were talking statewide or you're talking county, but share some of the numbers that you've already looked at.
So if we're looking here specifically at turnout in Seattle, we can see that turnout is around 24.27%.
Put that in perspective for us.
That's the highest since at least 2015. That's higher than the last 2 cycles where we've had a mayoral race that was being decided on by the voters. And if we're comparing it to, say, 21, where the election night turnout came in at 18.12%, or in 2017, where it came in at 19.19%, we're seeing that that's a 5% higher turnout rate. That's saying voters were coming in early and coming in a little more energized.
So to speak to what you had said earlier, this could spell trouble for some of the incumbents, at least in the Seattle King County area.
Yes, so it could also be spillover effect of progressives and Democrats just being more energized generally from the national political environment.
Right.
There's not a lot of you can show up and protest. But you can also show up and vote, and that's a way to signal that you're engaged and you want to be heard.
And as somebody who teaches this, you've kind of got your pulse on what's going on, not just around the state, but around the country as well. What have you seen, and what kind of do you expect as we tackle this primary and then leading up to November? Do you have kind of a feeling? Too early?
I think it's a little too early to know exactly this is going to be one of our first indicators, I think, about where the American people are going 8 months into the second Trump administration. And it's going to give us a sense about whether or not voters are focused on the kind of issues that usually drive local elections, things like homelessness and crime and housing. Or we did see some candidates hit on a more defiant tone, trying to run sort of implicitly against Trump. And whether or not those candidates that were trying to nationalize to some degree their particular candidacies get some benefit from that. And we also want to see whether or not the national environment is going to impact Republicans running for state legislature, for example, or perhaps there might be some spillover effect. It might hit Ann Davidson, who ran previously on a Republican. As a Republican before she ran in this nonpartisan race.
We've got some first numbers coming in, and let's go ahead and share those with you right now. So you can see for Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, and you talked about that 50% threshold, and here he is with 45%, and Wilson actually has 46% at this point. I'm going to run through a few more of these, and then we'll come back and talk about more of them. Do we have other big ones in just yet, or should we sit on the mayor? Let's go to the next one here real quick. I wasn't sure how many of these we had in just yet. Okay, there's your King County executive. I don't know that, well, I'll ask your thoughts on this in a minute. Gurmai Zahalai, he got a lot of endorsements, a lot of support. Yep. I'm sure this is probably no real surprise, but again, only 41% there at this point. So nobody breaking that 50% threshold just yet. I don't know if we have a couple others in here. The voucher program, which you are very well aware of, you know a lot about this. Explain this a little bit and tell me what this means to you.
So Democracy Vouchers is a program that we started in 2015 through a initiative. It's a first of the nation program, and it's a way to try to democratize campaign finance. When it comes to campaign finance in general, you have two main strategies. You can either try to take money out of the system, which involves imposing a lot of restrictions, or you can put extra money in to try to drown out what you think of as the bad money. And Democracy Vouchers are trying to do that by giving every citizen 4 $25 vouchers they can give to anyone running for city attorney, mayor, or one of the city council races. And what this is, the hope was that it would help elevate more marginalized communities that don't have the disposable income and help them be able to put more money behind their candidates.
Right, exactly. All right, let's hit Prop 1 in King County. This is the Parks levy. I think it's 23 cents per 1,000. The math is $230, if I did this correctly, on $1 million home. And that one is passing in a big way tonight. And I'm not sure that surprises me either.
Yeah, I don't think I'm surprised by that at all.
And we've got city attorney. And this one's been talked about quite a bit.
This is not a good number for Ann Davidson.
37%, okay.
Yeah, Evans was coming in with the endorsement of King County Democrats. She was getting the stranger. And what we've seen so far in these Seattle races is that more progressive candidates are doing a little bit better than the more centrist candidates. So I think just like 2023 was sort of a backlash against the leftward movement of the council, I think we might be seeing a little bit of a backlash brewing here in these early results towards the direction the council went after that 2023 election.
It had been, well, I would say tough on crime. I think that was kind of the push, but maybe the pendulum's swinging back a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Either way, I mean, it looks like she's going to move forward.
Yes.
We've also got 4 candidates in the Seattle City Council District Number 2 seat. That's the open seat after Tammy Morales resigned. Right. And so you can see what we're...
And again, we see the more, the stranger, usually in Seattle politics, you can use Seattle Times and stranger endorsements as the proxy for the more progressive and the more centrist candidate. And we see the candidates that were endorsed by the stranger coming out on top in these early results. And one thing to keep in mind when it comes to Seattle elections, usually the election night result is the worst number that more progressive candidates are going to get. We have a phenomenon here in Seattle city politics that we call the blue shift. For whatever reason, more progressive voters tend to procrastinate in getting their ballots in a little bit more. So as the counting goes on over the next few days, we tend to see the number of the more progressive candidate tick up a little bit higher.
All right, we got 2 more. Position 8, that one is got Alexis Rankin. Yeah, doesn't she's doesn't look like she's going to give that one up.
I think the interesting thing here is that Savage is coming in second, so she'll be running around. She's the only candidate that we saw in any of the city council elections get endorsed by the King County Republican Party. There's been some suggestion that she will be focusing on homelessness and particularly sweeps as being an important issue.
And then Council 9, that is the citywide seat. Sarah Nelson seeking re-election there. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, that's second place.
Yeah, I think that is, this was the race I was most interested in seeing because Nelson has sort of been the embodiment or the representative of the council overall. She's council president, so we're not really surprised by that. She also opted out of the democracy voucher program, so she's been able to raise a little bit more money. And programs that have traditionally stayed neutral in the primaries that generally waited until the general election to jump in have begun to jump in on the side of Diane Foster early because of the money that was coming in to support Nelson. So seeing Nelson coming in at 39% on election night with the fundraising advantage that she has had, she's got about 423,000 at the last report, whereas Foster only had 291,000 raised. That's not a great place to be if you're an incumbent.
It's a long road to November is what it
is. It
is.
is.
All right.
She's going to have a lot of work ahead of her.
Let's get to King County. We've got a couple of positions there, position 5 and position 7. Here's position 5. It's too far away for me to even read that.
Kim Vaughn, she, I think, is one we could see as the more progressive candidate. She's coming in third. So we'll have to see. The blue shift usually is a little bit weaker outside of Seattle. In King County, you won't necessarily see it as strong. So I think this will be an interesting race to see whether or not she's going to be able to catch up. But this is going to be, I think, a little bit like our District 2 race from a couple years ago, where we're going to have to see whether or not the more progressive candidate can move ahead. Vaughn ran against Reagan Dunn for King County Council previously, so this is her second attempt going at it. She's currently on the Renton City Council.
Well, I'm hearing that Mayor Harrell is going to speak here momentarily. Let's get on over to King County's Jim Nelson and see if we can get to the mayor. Has he stepped out yet, Jim?
Yeah, the mayor just walked out right now, so we were actually following him. That's the first that we've seen of Mayor Bruce Harrell. There was really no reaction to that initial wave of results. Oftentimes in these watch party situations, you see the results are up on a board. They don't have the results up on a board. I don't know how many people have been checking to see that first wave that you guys just went over, but I'm not sure if you could hear the tail end of the applause as Mayor Bruce Harrell walked into his watch party here at a restaurant in the Leshy neighborhood. So a big ovation for the mayor. Obviously, it's very tight, and with the nature of the primary system and that the top 2 advance, obviously there's plenty of reason to celebrate, as it certainly looks like it will be. At the end of the day, it sounds like Mayor Harrell as well as Katie Wilson advancing. I know it's very early in the process, but those two obviously jump off the sheet when it comes to the percentage. So certainly a celebratory tone here at Mayor Harrell's watch party. We expect him to address the crowd here in a few minutes. Of course, we'll be able to bring that live, but I would imagine it would be a tone of optimism, of celebration, while probably acknowledging that there will be a lot of work to do, because this certainly, by all accounts, looks like a tight race. We'll see what happens when it gets down to 2 candidates. Obviously, that's a long ways away, but again, celebrations early on so far here with Mayor Harrell's camp. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Jim, we'll check back in a little bit when the mayor speaks. I wanted to get back to King County Council Position 7,
okay.
And just really quickly, because this one is pretty much a blowout, it looks like. Do we have that one? Do we have the county? We're working on it. It's coming up. Computers. There it is. Your thought? I mean, he's been there since '94.
Yeah, Von Reichbauer. He's got that fantastic story that he can tell about helping keep the Seahawks here. I think this is telling us that we should expect him to cruise to re-election in November. So I don't think anyone's really surprised by this, but it is a strong showing for him. He only got about 52.5% in the last primary. So this is an improvement on his numbers from 4 years ago.
All right, I know we have a couple different places we can go out of here. I don't know if we want to talk a little bit more. All right, I guess the mayor, we're kind of watching him in the distance. Let's go ahead and take the mayor. All right.
Of course, it's unplanned, it's from the heart. So it's really interesting. We knew this was going to be a tough race, and all of you have been with me from the start of my political career. This is going to be a tough race, but we know we will win because, number one, the data is on our side and what we're trying to do. We have incredible leaders.
We have to love technology because sometimes that just happens. We'll try to get back to the mayor if we can fix that signal, but we were just talking about the closeness in case you were just joining us. Mayor Harrell has 45% to 46% for Katie Wilson. Very close again, and that's a majority of the the votes coming in. Maybe over the next couple of days that'll change, but probably not a whole lot. So how is he feeling tonight going? You see what he started to say, that he feels good about this, and he knows he has some work. So,
well, I think Mayor Harrell has proven that he's a survivor in Seattle politics.
That's for sure.
So in no way, shape, or form should he be counted out at this point. I'd say two things I want to take away. One, I think this is something we might give a little kudos to the Northwest Progressive Institute. They put out a poll last week and then one several months ago suggesting that this was a lot more competitive a race than we thought it would be. Initially, we thought that Harrell would be coming in for a pretty strong performance given the rush of endorsements we saw from King County Labor, and we saw Jayapal and other stalwarts coming in to endorse him. Is he getting ready?
Yeah, that's just video we're running.
Okay,
we lost that signal.
But anyway, so early on, we were expecting a really strong showing given all these endorsements. But when we saw this early poll saying maybe there's a little bit of softness there, we were wondering if something like this could happen. And seeing it actually play out suggests that the race from today to the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November is probably going to be a dogfight.
We are still waiting for some of the South Sound numbers to come out for Tacoma and Pierce County. We'll get to those momentarily, but while we wait for that, I'd like to revisit the King County executive because obviously with Constantine stepping out for Sound Transit, this was a wide open field. We saw a lot of people drop their names in there, but by far, I think Balducci and Zahalai were the two front runners coming out of the gate, and obviously you've got a couple others in there. Wilson got a lot of publicity. It wasn't necessarily good publicity that he got, but those two, that to me that seems exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. Zahalai had the fundraising advantage. He had the endorsement advantage. He's the council president, so he's had a little bit more of a high profile. This is a little bit of South Side, Seattle, East Side kind of race. Claudia Balducci is a big player in East Side politics. Guillermai is really important, especially in South Seattle, as a vocal leader of that community. And so this was setting up sort of one of those old school, East Side, West Side fights, and I don't think we should be that surprised, given how well other progressives have done, that Zahalai is coming out ahead. But the fact that he's coming in at 40% and she's coming at 30% says that the race is still wide open.
I was going to say, that was my next question. There are a lot of votes that aren't, once you get to November, it's a reshuffle.
When we get to November, you're going to have a second wave of voters coming in who weren't engaged at all. When we're looking at primary elections, we're going to look at a voting base that is more interested in politics and a little bit more progressive because they tend to be more college educated, but they also have some characteristics that might push them away against progressive candidates. Like they're more likely to be homeowners, they're a little bit more likely to be older voters. So generally, we see progressives fall back a little bit from how they do in the primaries, but not always.
We've got that Seattle Democracy Voucher Program that we talked about a little bit. And that one seems to be passing with flying colors with 56% of the vote. Again, this is, if I read this correctly, this is a 10-year program that adds about from what it was now to about $15 extra to $1 million home, but the total can be up to $2,200.
Yeah.
It sounds like we might have Harrell back here momentarily. I'm keeping an eye on the monitor. Let's go ahead and go back to Jim. He's got the mayor.
All right, yeah, we are here with Mayor Bruce Harrell. Mayor, obviously at this point, you will be in second place, or you're in second place right now. You'll be in the top two come the primary. You referenced it. You've never had an easy election. We don't know where things will stand. Of course, the goal is to be in the top two. What's your initial reaction to that first wave of results that we just saw?
Well, we sort of predicted this. We know all along these are tough races. There's really no easy mayor races, and so we will move to the general, and we have to tell our story. And you know, the data sort of speaks for itself in terms of what we're doing in Seattle, but people want some change. They want to see the energy. They want to know we're on the right trajectory. And, while I'm running the city, it's sort of hard I say we don't take victory laps. So we'll keep doing the work and be victorious in November.
Are you at all discouraged by the early results? And maybe the key word there is early. There's a long way to go. And is the goal simply to be in the top two and then kind of regroup and regather from there?
Yeah, no, I'm not a discouraged person in life. I mean, I always see victory and I always see an outcome that I want. So, again, we sort of knew this was going to be a close race all along. And, I'm looking at the other races too. You sort of see a trend that, again, people want to see some change, and we'll deliver that change that they want.
All right, Mayor Harrell, thank you very much. Obviously, that's the story here. We'll continue to follow this throughout the course of the night, guys.
Okay, Jim, thank you. Mr. Mayor, thank you. We'll try to break down some more of that a little bit later. We just got some numbers out of Pierce County, just dropped some of the results. We're going to begin with the race for Tacoma Mayor, and this is a wide open field. So let's go ahead and look at that first graphic if we can, because I think there are 5 or 6 candidates vying to replace Victoria Woodards, who cannot run again because she has basically, because of the rules, she can't run for another term. This is where we stand right now. And I don't know, actually, based on talking with you earlier, Patrick, this is exactly what you thought it would be, those top two.
Yes, so Ibsen and Hines are coming in as the top two, but we see, I'm really surprised by Haverly and Stevens' performance. They were not coming in with a lot of money. Haverly was coming in with only about $13,000 raised. Stevens was coming in with about $21,000 raised, and we're comparing that to Ibsen, which had brought in about $167,000, and Hines had raised $174,000.
But Haverly did run in 2021 and finished second to Woodards. I believe I saw that. So I mean, he does have some name recognition as well.
Right. And Stevens is a blogger down there who's been covering it. So they've been in the water. But when we're going in, we only really have our endorsements, and we only have fundraising to give us a clue about what is going to happen. And so we were expecting I was at least expecting a much bigger lead by Ibsen and by Hines than what we're seeing here.
Speaking of, I want to get to King 5's Connor Board, Pierce County Bureau Chief. She's got Hines with her. Connor, go ahead. What does John Hines have to say tonight?
Yeah, right now I'm with current council member John Hines, who of course is running for Tacoma Mayor, and right now you're in second place right now with about 20% of the vote. Tell me, how are you feeling this evening with these first results coming down?
Yeah, it's still really early. I think we're going to see a lot more come in the next day or two, but I'm very happy to be in the second place and to be moving on to the general election. I think we've done a really good job communicating with voters, and I think going from 6 people in a race to just 2, I think it's going to give me a real opportunity to continue to reach out to more people and get there.
And last week we talked and you told me that you think the 2 biggest challenges facing Tacoma are homelessness and public safety. Do you plan on honing in on those over the next few months? And what do you think you will do as mayor, if you're elected mayor, to address those issues?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. It's what I'm hearing the most from people at doors, I'm out in the community. Those are the 2 issues that are rising to people's, top of people's minds. So I'm going to continue to focus on that throughout the campaign. As the mayor, I mean, it's continuing to, as we talked before about, making sure we have enough police officers, and then beyond that, kind of building out our alternative response models. And then for homelessness, it's continuing to find shelter, housing services for people, and kind of working with my colleagues to identify funding for those sources.
And then just tell me, what's your message tonight to both the people who voted for you and those people who didn't vote for you in the primary?
Yeah, no, this campaign the entire time has been about a vision for the city of Tacoma, a brighter future, right? And I've been really clear about focusing on why I think I should be the next mayor. And I'm very happy that where we've landed, and I look forward to more conversations with voters about why I think I'm the right person to lead going forward.
And then something else you did mention was a focus on activating downtown. What are ways you would plan to do that?
I think we're starting first with our business partners that are down there and the businesses down there to get, find out what their issues are, what they've identified as barriers to people coming downtown, and really leaning in on that. I think kind of taking a real focus on some critical issues areas down there, some infrastructure improvements, and I think we can really see it take off.
Perfect. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you. And then coming up later, we will check in with Anders Ibsen as well. And stay tuned. We'll be following Tacoma's mayor's race throughout the night tonight on King 5. Back to you guys.
All right, Connor, thank you. We want to talk about a couple more council positions in Tacoma before we run out of time here. Council position 4, here we are. That one's a lot tighter than what we've seen so far, Patrick.
Yeah, but I do think we see another theme continuing. If we look at the races in Seattle, we see the candidates endorsed by the Tribune and the Stranger doing well. Here, if we're looking at the News Tribune and the Urbanist, the candidates that they were endorsing in the Tacoma races seem to be are candidates that are advancing there. So that's setting up sort of a leading progressive, leading centrist sort of model that we saw playing out in Seattle.
Position 5 is a little wider. As I'm looking at the numbers over here, Bushnell's got a much bigger lead here. The second one's still maybe not up for grabs. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Bushnell's coming in a very strong position. Cook was endorsed by the Urbanist. So we see the strength of the endorsement playing out. Bushnell is one of the only few candidates we've seen so far where there's a kind of competitive race where the candidate being endorsed by the more centrist-oriented indicators is performing well, performing strongly.
And we've got the council position 6. This is the at-large position for the entire city, and this is the one that Kara Daniels was appointed to deputy mayor, and so she vacated this, and this is fairly well. That's a three-way.
Yeah, it's definitely a three-way race. We're going to have to see how later votes come in. Perez was also endorsed by the Urbanist. So I think we're going to want to watch and see if she benefits from some of that late pickup. Johnson was endorsed by the News Tribune. So we could see an interesting, I think that's the most interesting race we want to cue in on here in the next few days outside of the mayor's race here in Tacoma.
Again, these are very early numbers. In the process, we get that first big dump of votes and then you kind of have to wait. So a lot more could shake out here, but a lot of those races were pretty semi-decided at this point. Let's take you up north to look at the Everett mayor and Cassie Franklin. Surprisingly here, I guess surprising for me, in second place.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that too. She's up for a third term. And her last performance, I think, was a little bit stronger coming out. She had raised about $130,000. She had a lot of endorsements, including from the Tulalip chair. So I think coming in as an incumbent, coming in second, coming in with only 36%, saying, there'd been some budget issues in Tacoma. There's some debate around the Aqua Sox issue up in Everett. So this is another example of us seeing incumbents dealing with headwinds of people being discontented with the status quo.
How quickly a half an hour can go by when you're just talking about numbers and toss it to a few people. What if you looked at a big picture, if you can? What are the things that most surprised you in this early look at numbers?
I think the consistent theme that incumbency is not all it's cracked up to be in this particular primary election. I think that the people who are in office right now, who are seeking re-election, they're going to have to be working their tails off between now and November, assuming they get through in the second round, to convince people to give them a second shot, because voters seem to be telling us that they're not really happy with the way things are going. And I don't know if that's just focused on issues here or if that's some of the national spillover. We're going to have to tease out the numbers, and we're not the only ones having elections today, so if we see a national trend, that might give us a little bit of insight as well.
Expect a lot more campaigning over the next couple of months, especially. I mean, certainly we're going to hear from Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, who
absolutely
he doesn't mind being in that second position. So if it takes a little dogfight, he's got it in him.
Yeah, sure. he has shown that he knows how to go put the rubber to the ground and knock on more than a few doors to get across the finish line. So That'll be a race to watch.
Patrick, thank you. That is going to do it for our digital special, tonight's August primary. We'll have more election coverage on our evening newscast at 9:10 on Kong and King 5 News at 11.